Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the November 4th meeting of the school board dedicated to review and discussion of the 22-23 proposed school district budget. I'll call the meeting to order and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we have invited the Budget Committee, and thank you to those members in attendance, to join us tonight to hear our review of the proposed budget. We have our department heads from I think just about every department in the district. So we'll have opportunity to ask questions at the end of the meeting and begin our budget review process. Dr. Jetty, do we have any reviews or revisions of the agenda?
We do not.
All right. So I'll defer to Dr. Jetty for a presentation, beginning with the superintendent's budget overview.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. So I'm going to start with my traditional overview because we do budget development once a year, and I think it's just important that we kind of ground ourselves on the process and the steps that we're about to undertake. So remember that the key components of what you're going to be seeing tonight and on Monday night really talk about the revenue plan that the school district has established. How is it that we will generate revenue in order to fund the school operations for the next school year? You're also going to see our expenditure framework. We probably will spend more time on that portion of it because this is how we intend to utilize the funds that get generated for us. So we're going to lay out the framework of what that looks like. We know that it is a bottom line budget, and we have, I think, proven ourselves to be quite responsible at making our bottom line budget work. And so, having that framework clearly articulated with major goals and major expectations outlined has proven to be effective for us. We also have our educational strategy. The board has set a long-term goal for the next 3-year cycle, and that helps to propel what it is that we're going to do, right? So the budget that we develop really compels our team on how to act. So whether you're a school principal or one of the directors of a department, classroom teacher even, that budget becomes the way you are required and compelled to act and to plan. And really, we have set team improvements, school improvements as a key part of what we're trying to accomplish. And so the budgeting motivates us to help pull that off. So if we put all the pieces together and they fit like a puzzle, this is what it will allow the Litchfield School District to continue to improve over time. In this budget that you're going to be learning about, the major goals are really on our facility planning. We have accomplished a great deal relative to our facilities the last few years, and now we're putting into action the things that we've identified, and we're getting after many issues that have been kicked down the road for years, waiting for somebody to get after. Well, we're getting after them, but getting after them involves the expenditure of money, and it is proving to be a driver for the budget. But on the revenue side, one fortunate aspect of the pandemic is that it identified revenue sources that were not available to us before. And so we've been able to take action steps without necessarily impacting the Litchfield taxpayers. So facility planning and facility improvement without direct impact on taxpayers has proven to be very effective for us, and you'll hear more about that as we go on. Another thing I want to talk about is the COVID-19 response. We continue to respond to this. Today, we took kind of a necessary step in having our 8th graders go to remote learning. So we learned from the pandemic that there are things that we need to do to be prepared for situations like that bubble up. So when you hear about one-to-one Chromebook initiatives and the need to replace computers, it's because we now know that learning takes place pretty much 24/7, depending on how old your teenager is. And we need to make sure that everybody is prepared to access that learning at all times of day. The other thing is that the COVID-19 response has taught us about the importance of nice HVAC systems, functioning HVAC systems. And so we are putting money into the areas so that when the next situation comes along, or if we simply go back to worrying about colds and flus, they also will be better mitigated by the HVAC improvements that we're making across the district. So it's tied to facility planning, but it's really things that we've learned from the pandemic that have helped us to become better as a school. And I always give the reminder that people are at the heart of this budget. So when we're having the conversations that we are, and there will be some difficult conversations tonight, and when we're having those, we have to remember that at the heart of those, there are people, individuals, and we try to, treat everybody with dignity and with respect, and we want to keep that in mind. We're not going to get upset about things that happen. It's just the reality of the situation that we have. 80% of our budget is driven by personnel costs. Only 20% is driven by stuff. So people really matter when it comes to the Litchfield School District, and we just want to keep that in mind as we go forward developing this. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about enrollment because once we get our October 1st numbers, so we settle how many students are attending our schools, what classes are they in, and so forth, we then take them and we crunch them through what's proven to be a pretty good algorithm to predict how many students there will be next year, and then what will be that impact on classes and teachers. So let me pull this up. Now I'll do my electronic cheaters. There we go. So this is the, that's the 2020 tab. Let me go to 21. There we go. This is the situation that occurred this year. So in white at the top, you see the last 4 years of school enrollments. It's broken down by grade and then broken down by level and giving us a grand total. You'll notice that in the 17-18 school year, we had 1,309 students in the district. That declined by 5, went up by a couple. Last year, with the pandemic, we had a larger drop to 1,225 students. At this time of year last year, we made the prediction of what is in orange. So we predicted that we would be opening school this year with 1,235, and that's using a 3-year averaging number. Those numbers were 417 at Griffin, 352 at the middle school, and 426 at the high school. What's in green are the actual October 1st numbers. That's what we were trying to predict. We were saying on October 1st next year, how many students are we going to have? And you can see that the formula is proven to be pretty accurate. We had 1,238 students, 3 more than predicted. At Griffin, it was exactly dead on. Now, it wasn't exact dead on by grade, but it was exact dead on overall. The middle school number actually gained 3 students, and the high school also gained 3 students. So you might say, well, if they both gained 3, that's 6. How are you only up 3? And the answer lies in the preschool numbers. So if you look over to preschool, you can see preschool actually declined by 3. They're not included in Griffin's numbers. So that's why at first I panicked. I'm like, my computer's not adding correctly. And I'm like, no, there it is. I got it figured out. So we took exactly the same 3-year averaging methodology and applied it forward to the next 3 years so that we can try to predict what our staffing levels are going to look like. You can see in the first yellow bar the 22-23 enrollment projection. That's what we're building the budget around. You can see the numbers prove to be relatively stable. A couple of things to note is that there's a larger class in the current 4th grade. So the 96 in green is rising up next year to 5th grade at 101. And that's why the middle school's number is going up slightly from 355 to 364. You'll see that Griffin's number is declining from 417 to 405. That's because the large class is moving on. So they're averaging out a little bit because those numbers are being reconciled there. And then the high school it has a further decline by 5 students, we predict. And you'll notice that in green, for the first time in forever, they had a class of less than triple digits. They had a class of only 96. Well, next year they have 2 classes of less than triple digits with a 97 and a 95 based on the prediction. So the smaller class wave that we have seen coming is now arriving at Campbell. And I just want to talk about that for a second, because if you look at Campbell's numbers, we predict all the way out to 24, 25, and that's when all 4 classes have fewer than 100 students, and their enrollment is predicted to decline to 379. So you're talking a 50-student drop over a window of time. So keep that number in mind, because when we're talking tonight, we have to be responsive to these numbers. We have to say how many students are there, and then what's the right staffing level in order to make sure that we're providing for the students who we have. Now, if we were to suddenly see some major shift that occurred, we would react to that. But we would react within the means that we have to react, right? And so it's just a reality that we have that there could be a large tract of land that gets sold and a quick development that goes in and has us react. We also may see a large, last June was hot in the real estate market in this town. The number of houses that sold between June 1st and July 30th was remarkable. So we were watching that and we were saying, okay, so if everybody's moving, a couple who's already raised their family are moving out of town and is being occupied by a family, what's that going to do to our enrollment numbers? And you can see it did nothing to our enrollment numbers. Our prediction was ready for that. So does that mean that something opposite could occur in the future? Of course it could. But so far, these numbers have proven to be accurate, and these are the predictions that we're making. So throughout the budget, you'll see, here's how many students we're going to have. You can tie it back to this number. It's not a number we picked out of thin air somewhere. It's tied right back to this spreadsheet. This is the enrollment prediction. This section of the graph is basically the calculation part. Notice that it's a 3-year average change. That's how we calculate what we're going to need in each grade level. And then it is tied into the lower part of the chart here. So this is our staffing projections. We have the numbers that we used last year at the top. We have in green again the numbers that we used for the current year. And then in yellow at the bottom, we take all of that work and say this is what we predict and we believe we're going to need for staffing next year. If you look at the bottom of it, the staffing change column is probably the part that's most important when it comes to the budget. Right now, based on these numbers, and let me just talk for a second about the first number, the 74 in yellow that you see in the upper left corner. That 74 is the number of kindergartners. And we're now in our 4th year of kindergarten. We now have 3 years of averaging that we can apply to make a prediction on. Before we were, whatever the first grade level is, you're always just sort of taking a guess. It's always not quite sure what's going to happen here because they're not in the system yet. However, we were able to, this time, actually take the 3-year averaging and predict the 74. That will result in a staffing need in kindergarten of -1 teacher. So we will go from the current 5 classes to 4 classes next year. However, because the kindergarten now is on the larger side, it was at 82, we're predicting it will go up to 90. 90 is going to require 5 classes, and that will require a gain of 1 teacher. So more likely than not, that's a transfer from kindergarten to 1st grade. It's not a gain yet. And then if you look into 3rd and 4th grade, because 2nd grade stays even, 3rd and 4th grade both have a loss of 1 teaching position based on the numbers that we're using. So our prediction is that we will need 2 fewer teachers in 3rd and 4th grade total. Okay, so that's where we stand on that prediction. At the middle school, when you run all the numbers through, Right now, the numbers are driving us to stay static, but you're going to see in a second, we're going to talk about programming when we get there. But based on enrollment numbers, we are predicting to stay level when it comes to the teaching slots. So I want to talk for a second about dealing with the unexpected. Remember that the budget we're talking about is going to be implemented in July of 2023. So much of this talk got in my head today that I sent a typo out to the entire town actually just to the middle school parents, when I said 2023 is going to be a great new year, because I'm developing the budget for 2023, and Barbara comes in and goes, so you're telling me 2022 is going to be another awful year? I said, I didn't say that. I had my head in the wrong thing as I'm trying to manage a current situation and a budget. So, but the reality is that this is coming out in July, or will begin to be implemented in July of 2023. That's really 8 months out. Nope, I did it again, didn't I? It's July of 22, see? Because it's the FY23 budget. So it's July of 22, and it's going to start. No, it's my, Corey, I've done it 4 times now, and on TV. And then it's going to end 20 months from now. So we're making predictions about things that will have a lot of unknowns. You know, it could take one special ed placement to throw a big monkey wrench in the middle of trying to get this budget implemented, right? Because that's an unknown. You don't see it coming. We do our best to make those predictions, but if something were to happen along those lines, we have to educate the child, and we have to deal with that situation as it unfolds. So at this point, I'm going to actually invite Corey up to the podium. Corey, these are your 2 slides if they help you. If you want them.
I changed them. I might need my computer.
Here, do it this way. Do it this way. Just put it in front of you.
All right.
There you go.
All right. So, as I said, as he's handing me the, this didn't update. That's not good.
All right. Escape. Refresh.
There we go. All right, so as I said, as he was handing me the papers, right before I came in here, a few things were changed. There was some additional activity that took place in the salaries and benefits budget. So Holly has those printed out. We'll give fresh copies when she comes in to do her presentation. So basically, we've been working on this budget since August, and really the push has been with a lot of the large projects that we know that are coming and the things that we have as initiatives in the district, that we really needed to keep this budget conservative, as close to the prior year as possible, and in that we've had to make some tough decisions. Based on the budget statistics, the things that I've run so far as of tonight, the total gross appropriation of all funds is down $11,000. In the general fund itself is showing as a 0% increase, only going up $773. So we've been able to keep it pretty much in line with where we were. Food service has gone down 4.3%, $11,772. I had a question from one of the board members last night regarding one of those, but we'll get into that when Lauren comes up. General fund increase, anything that's happened in the general fund would mostly be driven by salaries and benefits, as the operational side of the budget has gone down by almost $36,000. I just want to mention, and I mentioned it last year in the budget prep, these past 2 school years that we've gone through, FY20 and FY21, have really been anomalies. We had 3 months of shutdown in FY20, and then last year with the shifting from remote to in-person to, you know, not knowing exactly what's going on, things have really been a little bit different, especially with, you know, co-curricular transportation, athletic transportation, teams aren't traveling as far, doing those types of things. So in certain parts of that budget, in terms of transportation, you'll see when we get to transportation, which is actually Monday, we've kept some of those areas level, because based on the past 2 years, we really just don't know what's going to happen in those areas. So when you're looking at it and you're going through and thinking about 3-year averaging, those things are really skewed because of those past 2 years. Some expenses are very, very low. In the area of FY20, when you look at electricity and such, 2 buildings were shut down for 3 months of the year. So that really skews the average in those utilities. And we're also looking at, and we don't know what the full impact is going to be of some of the energy efficiency projects that are taking place. We know there's going to be savings down the line. We don't know exactly what those savings are going to be. So it kind of makes it difficult to budget for the utilities until we know what those impacts are really going to be. So that's really my introduction to the budget, and with that, we can bring up Lauren Crowley, the food service director.
Do you want to come up and sit here?
What's that?
Do you want to sit up here?
Sure. I'll just say, based on last night, Tara had asked me a question regarding food purchasing in the food service budget, and how I did reduce that budget, working with Lauren, from a level of $218,000 down to $180,000 for total food expenditures. She'll explain a little better how utilizing government programs helps, but this was also part of the basis in looking at 3 to 5 year averaging of what our actual food expenditures have been, and I feel like that 180,000.
Plus, remember, we have breakfast now at all 3 schools, and so that's why it surprised me that your food costs were actually going down. I thought that was completely contrary to the cost that we're all seeing buying our own groceries.
We have a couple pieces. We're part of the state bid where you can get some better pricing in bulk, and also the USDA commodity program. So I'll let Lauren speak now.
Hi. All right, so I will address that shortly, Tara, and but I just want to kind of start off with some just good news over the last couple months. As you all know, that meals are free again for all students, and we've seen significant numbers spiking, which is fantastic. 11,000 meals in 11,000 lunches in October, 12,000 lunches in September, and every school now is averaging at least 1,000 breakfasts a month, which it's even at middle school, and I'm going to highlight middle school specifically. They were hitting, I think it was 1,400 lunches for just October. And last year, they were at like 300 a month. So that's for having 7 minutes to come in, get your lunch and go to class, your breakfast and go to class. That's awesome. They're averaging about 80 breakfasts a day. Griffin's doing about 100. We're up to almost 130 a day. And the high school's holding steady at about 75, 80 a day as well. So, the program's going really, really well in terms of that. And then that money coming back from the state is a huge help to us. So that's really, really great. Some other things that have been happening as well is I am working, I basically live at Griffin nowadays, and making a lot of changes there. I held a whole culinary seminar for my staff in the summer that covered a lot of different things about cooking from scratch, flavoring items and things like that. We've opened a bunch of new teacher accounts because they can pre-order salads from our kitchens like they do here at the high school. So that's been great, and we're just kind of making the kitchen more efficient, more flowing, and our lunch counts have spiked down there because of that as well, which is great compared to considering they can get that or just the yogurt meal. So the yogurt meals have it's leveled out more, but the hot lunch counts are going up. So that means the food quality is good, the kids are liking what we're serving. So some of the challenges obviously have been our deliveries, and we just don't know. It's like a gamble. Maura emailed me and said, I feel like you're just opening boxes like on Chopped. And I was like, it's kind of what we're doing all the time. So, but considering all of those challenges, the kids are still getting fed every day. They're happy. We're happy. So That's really great. So to address that concern about the spending, we, and especially this year, I have been utilizing all of the government product that has been coming to us. Like when we closed down in March of 2020, all through the end of that year, we still got our state truck orders. Like it was a regular school year. So our freezers are jam filled. Like we can now just walk in the high school freezer, just like as of last month. So we're trying to utilize all those products, which is why the food cost has gone down. And because we're part of the New Hampshire buying group, those prices can't fluctuate throughout the year. So if the case is $20, it's $20 the whole time it's in bid. So we're not experiencing the fluctuation of prices like you would be at, say, a grocery store or things of that variety. The problem with that is you're tied to the vendor, and then if the vendor doesn't have the product, we don't have the products. So it's just navigating those challenges. But if you utilize the government program correctly, which I believe we are, we use almost all of the government money. I buy meat, chicken, cheese, ground beef, you name it, all the expensive stuff. That's what I buy because it's literally like $2-3 a case for us to pay. Versus if I get it through a distributor like PFG or Cisco, where it could run $50-60 a case, $5-6 a pound, depending on what it is. And we get great turkey roasts. We get all of our deli meat from them. So it's a lot of stuff that we utilize regularly and daily. Prior to me, they used it to order a lot of canned fruits and vegetables and rice and things that are not so expensive that you could easily buy. So that's what we've kind of made the big shift with, is that we're utilizing that product. We're utilizing it creatively to get the kids to buy the product that we're, making, and using up what we have that we're drowning in, like strawberries and cheese and all sorts of good stuff. So that's kind of the update on food services. Are there any questions?
I would think if that's the case, Lauren, then your costs are reduced by like 20% on some of the schools. So I would think then you're going to make a good profit this year.
I'm hoping to. I'm really
Especially with
hoping
all
to.
the surplus you're saying you carried over.
Yeah.
It's all like free money.
Yeah, absolutely. And with being at the other schools, it's really, I've had an opportunity to really tighten the ordering up to the fact that we're looking at the numbers of the counts versus, we're just going to order a standard number because that's what we order.
Yeah.
That's really been helpful too.
Yeah, because I had the same concern as Tyra. I mean, it's the only thing I highlighted. I was looking at food costs. It's
Yeah.
like, how's your food cost going down 20% and everyone else in the world's going up 20%?
Yeah, I'm good at what I do.
I'll give you a grocery list.
Yeah, if you could start making dinners. for us,
Yeah,
that would be
exactly.
great. All right, so if it's all right with you, I think we'll follow the same format that we've done in the past. We've just kind of gone page by page.
Sure.
So I'll ask for any questions or comments on page 1 of the food service budget.
Oh, we can do that. Okay, I don't think I had under.
Okay.
Where is it?
It's towards the back, yeah.
Okay, there we go.
There you go. There we go.
I colored coded
Did you have
too
anything
high.
on page 1, Tara?
No.
No? Okay, page 2. Page 3. All right, that's it.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks. Have a good one.
All right, I think the next section will be a little bit longer.
So now we'll invite the principal of Campbell High School, Mr. Lonigan, to the front podium.
Good evening, everyone. Before I begin, I just want to do a couple of things, talk about Stacy Brasley, my administrative assistant, who was really, first time through the budget process, really instrumental in helping me focus and keep this guided and moving along. Also, I want to recognize that Tina pointed out previously that we have with us tonight my athletic director, Josh Knight, and also Val Nelson, our counseling director, who are here just in case there are questions related to those two areas. My AP Mike is dealing with a pet challenge at home right now, so he can't be here this evening. So when we think about high schools, particularly small comprehensive high schools, they're costly places, okay? they're driven by supplies. And so, I wanted to make reference to that. When you look at the supplies at a high school, a lot of money between family and consumer science, athletics, fine arts, visual arts, lots of money come through the budget for those, along with technical education. So those really are key drivers. The other driver is transportation, and in particularly not the to and from school transportation, but really it's your co-curricular, your athletic transportation, and your vocational transportation. And as we go through the budget, you'll see how they really are sort of heavy influences on the budget here at Campbell. So a little bit about current trends. This year, I was really fortunate working with the CFs, the Unified Arts Coordinator, and the individual teachers in the departments in terms of collaborating with me on developing the budget. That's been common in my previous 5 years. We have a few new CFs and UA people and teachers, so it's a little interesting for them to go through the budget the first time. Mike mentioned previously our enrollment. We're looking at dropping 5 students in the 22-23 school year, which is not significant when you think about budgeting for a high school. As we continue to look at enrollments, one of the things we have to be real careful about is utilizing our teachers really effectively in terms of making sure that we can run courses with 15 to 25 students. And that's challenging when you look at some of the courses we offer, but we kind of stayed on top of that with Mike during the budgeting process and during the course enrollment process in December and January. The one thing I found this year working with our staff, there's generally agreement that we could make some cuts in various places. So we dropped our budget down about 2.4%, about $14,000, I think, which I'm encouraged by. And so I mentioned the drivers previously. Transportation is certainly a key figure across all 3 areas: co-curricular, vocational, and athletics. Our CTE courses, okay? This CTE course is a great value for our students to take advantage of those. It's cheap money for a 2-credit course for a student to go to Alvin or Pinkerton. It's about $1,000 per course. Outstanding for our kids, particularly for our students who either have a passion that's outside of the traditional academic stuff, but also for our students who are looking maybe for a career path or something along those lines. The piece of this that's challenging with respect to CTE is transportation costs. Okay, so the combination of the two of those is a fairly substantial number on our budget. We have canceled Challenge Day in terms of our budgeting for Challenge Day. So we have it scheduled for the spring. It's in the budget, so we'll have that. Our plan has been, and I know a number of you have heard this, that every 2 years we'll have Challenge Day. We anticipate that coming out of grant funding as we move forward. Okay, so that you won't be seeing that on the budget. Key variances, increases, audiovisual, believe it or not. We have teachers who really want videos for their particularly PE and health classes and for science classes. And we all think, well, we'll go to some of our streaming opportunities for that, but they don't always offer what you really need for some of these program areas. So Julie's done a nice job of working with those teachers to increase the opportunity for those. Our tech ed program, $4,500 this year we budgeted for Woods. We know what's happened to the timber industry, and we also know what's happened with the supply chain. So we're not sure what our actual costs are. John does a nice job of buying unfinished lumber and finishing it in the shop there, but we're a little bit leery about what the cost will be for next year. Athletic supplies are a driver, and when we think of both athletic supplies and transportation, we mentioned earlier, 2 years without full seasons, whether it's the closing off of a spring season or if we're talking about the lack of real opportunities last year in terms of overall. So that we want to keep that stable if we can, just to make sure we provide those opportunities. So decreases. Science, down $3,000, which is great. They finally finished buying equipment, and now really they're heavily dependent on supplies, but they've dropped it significantly. Contracts for our printers, Corey's done a nice job of decreasing those. The Learning Commons here, we have all the furniture we need, so Julie's done, again, a nice job of setting this up the way we want it for the kids. So that's decreased some. PE and health has decreased the budget by about $1,400. Kudos to Josh on that. And then the music budget is down as well. So overall, 2.4% decrease. I'm glad for that. I think it's important for us. And let's see. The challenge in budgeting is what was alluded to previously. COVID-19 and having 3 years of consistent expenditures to work from. So on that note, more than happy to review and go through questions.
Okay. Ready to go through the CHS budget? All right. Any questions or comments on page 1? Page 2? Page 3?
I have a question on page 3. And I brought this up before. These big poster boards we use,
Yes.
Post-its,
Yes.
why can't we just use a whiteboard or easels with paper?
If you go into a classroom, what you'll see English teachers using is setting up groups of students, and each student has a Post-it that they're using. You can't put all students up at the front, at the whiteboard at the front of the room, and you don't have those same resources around the rest of the classroom. So when you do a lot of collaborative work, which in particular our English department does, it's nice for the kids to be able to use your markers, go up there, create whatever the visuals are that you need to do, and then go from there. So it's something they use really quite a bit.
Couldn't just use easel paper and tape?
Or the computer and have them all share their document and put it up on the board?
Well, yes and no, because this is this side where you got a group of kids and they're looking at a particular topic and they've got another topic and they've got a. That isn't always the most expedient way to do those things. Brian, possibly you could. I think we're
like
buying masking tape and putting up the big posters, those things.
It's a gallery walk.
Essentially, yeah, that is what it is. Yep. Yep.
Do you have a motion?
No, not this time.
All right. Anything else on page 3? Page 4?
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Earbuds, built-in microphones, 50, was it a 50-pack of earbuds?
Yeah.
Don't most kids all have their own right now, especially with Chromebooks?
Not all of them do. Nope. They do bring in, it's kids. Some of them have them, but a lot of them don't. So there's your
Or some
opportunity to make
forget
sure
'em.
that they have
Yeah.
something to plug into.
Don't they need them for standardized testing too?
Well, without standardized testing,
You don't,
no. Nope.
the lower levels?
Yeah.
Can you find out how many you've used so far this year? Because you get them every year, right?
To tell you the truth, I can't tell you that, but I'll,
No, not right now. I said, could you find out?
absolutely, yeah, definitely. Yep.
Anything else?
Which line was
Oh,
that? Was that the,
734.
okay. Yep.
All right, anything else on page 4? Page 5?
Yeah, every year. When do you use the ropes course? And I know we keep asking this, but it's like,
We use it in 2 programs. Freshman seminar does 1 day at the start of the school year.
have they done it yet?
Yeah, I believe they have.
Yeah.
Freshman sem, if your students in freshman sem, they should have gone over there with Coach K.
Okay, I don't think so.
Okay.
So 1 day.
I'll tell you what, I'll check on it. It might be in, well, it wouldn't be in the spring. But we haven't also had the inspection on it yet, which is supposed to occur at any point.
And when's the second day we use it?
The secondary use is in the PE classes, Fit for Life classes.
And how often?
Not over at Dara Pond. Fit for Life does in the building, over with the climbing wall.
Well,
and those
that's
things.
what I'm asking. So
Oh.
we're paying $1,300 for inspection.
Yep.
For 1 day use. Do you think it's time we can find another activity that doesn't cost us $1,300? And just give that to the rec committee?
Go ahead, Josh.
Don't they inspect both courses?
Yes.
The one in here and the one over there?
Yeah.
Fit for Life goes over there for a month during the class.
Over,
Over to, Dara. So
Right.
stay in
I
with-
thought you said
guess
1
we
day.
We use
Yeah.
the Rock Hall and Dara for a
Okay.
month time. So we stay in here for safety purposes, and then once we believe the kids have an understanding of what they're doing.
Alright, so it's more than 1 day.
Yeah, so the freshman seminar is 1 day.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then you're spending, I guess, 2 different 1-month segments because you have
Okay.
Fit for Life in the fall and Fit for Life in
All
the
right,
spring.
because
so-
I thought last year was explained it was only used for freshman seminar.
No.
All right, I'm all set.
No, they want
No.
to pick up the lid.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Anything else on page 4? Page 5? Page 6? Page 7?
No, I guess I'm on,
Oh.
I'm sorry, 7, I'm on 7.
Okay.
Actually, I have a question for page 6.
Okay.
How much was used this year for supplies so far for, fax? Cause we allocated more to this year's, like twice as, actually, the last year budget was 14,255
Yeah.
But look at the previous 2 years, it was like $7,000. We really increased it.
We increased it because we're not, there was costs associated with the students had to pay for that we took away that.
That's right, that's
put it in
Correct.
there.
Okay.
No, but that
Yep.
was,
And-
that was
and-
right. That was a while ago.
It was like 2 years ago.
That
No,
was,
one
I think
more.
this is the
I thought it
third
was
year.
before that.
Yeah.
It
Right.
was-
It was before 2021.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Also
it's the third year.
understand a little bit, Tara, is that we weren't expending that because of COVID. And so Lynn Nagy was being really careful about how many
I
activities
see.
she had.
Okay.
Our hope was, one, we would have more normal operations this
Yeah.
year, so that the new teacher, keep in mind, Lynn was a late retirement at the end of the last school year, so finding a new
That's
teacher
right,
was a bit of a
that's right.
challenge. So the new teacher is the one who's sort of a little bit deliberate in terms of making sure she gets her labs done, but part of the reason for that is we're still in COVID.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. All right, got it.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Do you anticipate a return to, I mean, hopefully, we're all hoping for a return to normal,
Right,
normal labs and normal
Yeah.
classes?
Yep.
Okay.
Are they not doing labs? They're not
No.
cooking or anything?
They are.
no, she is, but she's been really deliberate in terms of the process for doing that with the students. Yep.
Okay. Anything else on 6? Brian, you had something on 7?
Yeah, supplies. And the math,
Yep.
3-hole punch paper?
So we had a conversation at the SAU level on this. So in the past, we had a printer that actually 3-hole punch the assignments, so the kids could keep an organized notebook of their assignments. So there's 2 ways to do that. Teachers throw in 3-hole punch paper and they write things off, and therefore the kids can just put it into the notebooks. The other thing we talked about is getting good 3-hole punches in each of the teachers' classrooms and do it that way. We also talked about finding out what it would cost to get the 3-hole punch added onto the printer, just to facilitate that. The teachers were used to it previously.
And this is for their assignments?
Yeah, for their assignments. So for formatives, homeworks, for in-class assignments. This way, the student can keep an organized notebook of their work.
How come only math needs that?
They're the only one who's requested it.
Good. I'll make a motion to,
I have a question first. Does the new printer not have a 3-hole punch option? Is
It
that what
does.
you-
It doesn't have the finisher.
It doesn't have the finisher.
And this is more cost-effective, buying the pre-punched paper is more cost-effective than buying new 3-hole punches for the classrooms?
I don't think you could do a stack
know,
of
it's even
papers
cheaper?
and a 3-hole punch.
plain paper.
Yeah.
We're looking into the cost of what it would be to add the finisher to it, but that adds to your lease payments
Right.
as part of the
Yeah,
machinery.
no, that
Right.
sounds like a wish. Go ahead.
I want to make a motion to reduce 610 supplies from 900 to 0.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of reducing line 610 supplies on page 7 under the math education, say, from 900 to 0, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Oh, so we have
3-2.
3-2.
2-3.
Sorry. Math isn't my subject.
So I'll say nay next time, just to make it more clear.
Yeah.
Thank you, okay. I'm also an aye, I vote, so it's 3-2.
No, it's 2-3. In favor, 2, against, 3.
Yes? Okay, we'll do
Right.
hands. That's, okay. All in favor of reducing that line from 900 to 0, say aye. And raise your hand.
Reducing aye.
Reducing, aye.
Can we discuss that? I just have one comment.
Yeah, of
I don't
course.
think you
I'm
called for
sorry.
comments.
We can-
I mean, my kids are using folders. That's all they've used in middle school and now in high school. They have folders. They don't have 3-hole they don't have binders. So that's why I'm,
Well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I also wanted to add too, the $900 isn't just for the 3-hole punch paper, it's also for the general math supplies, the whiteboard markers, erasers, mini whiteboards. When you do budgeting, you do the general student supplies. Are all of the, kind of the teacher supplies, they're not included in that?
Correct, they're not
Okay.
included in that.
So
So we have a
they're
paper
separated out.
supply budget for the entire school.
Yeah.
Okay? So there's one piece to that.
Okay.
There are other supplies that teachers will come to us for, general supplies, that they'll
Okay.
come to us for. But
I'm gonna-
departmental, these are departmental supplies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that is a good point.
Yeah, so did you have something else to say,
In my
Liz?
opinion, in math, you should have a folder with 3-hole punch, because it's cumulative, and you can go back as a reference. If you jam them all in your folders, not saying that
Right.
my children did, but
Yeah, they're not
here's
organized.
my paper from May,
Right.
it's all, and
We got 'em,
most
we already voted
math
halfway on
teachers
it.
are like this.
We never got any supply lists sent home.
Yep.
Yeah,
FYI.
I'm going to make a motion to amend.
Well, we have a motion on the table right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion to amend it, and then we vote on the amendment.
Well, we gotta
and then-
finish voting on it. We started voting for the second time. We got 3 ayes and then we stopped.
Okay,
All right. We went back to the discussion that we didn't have before.
yeah, we went back to the discussion, I'm
I know,
sorry.
we gotta finish the vote, or you have the discussion before you do the vote. So why don't we just finish this one, then you can amend it if you want.
Okay,
Okay.
all in favor of making the reduction from $900, well, we did finish that vote, it was 320.
No, we said 3 ayes and then Tara wanted to talk.
That is what
Okay,
it is.
all
right.
opposed? 2, 320. I'd like to now make a motion to change that, to increase that line item from $0 to $600.
I'll second.
Okay, any
So hold it
discussion?
from
900
to 600.
Right,
Okay,
which is
got
more
it.
in line with
Yeah.
this current year's actual, or 21's actual spending.
All right, I'll second that.
Okay. Well, Heidi already did, you can't.
Oh, okay, good.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain? So 410. So that line item should now be $600. And so 0 increase over last year's. Okay, anything else on page 7? Page 8?
Yep.
Yeah.
Under 430,
Yep.
repairs of school-owned music, instruments, and cases.
Mm-hmm.
We get that much damage in a year?
I would say yes, and there's clearly a number of instruments that we have. I think the other piece too is that we're also talking about the sort of higher costs of the sanitizing and cleaning at the end of a school year. For our instruments, it was much higher last year.
That's not in repairs.
That's, if you look at down below,
It is.
the disinfecting, sanitizing, and those things.
So, that's really confusing here. So
Yeah.
the line says
Oh,
for
yeah,
repairs,
I
then
see.
like,
Yep.
after like 3 other charges, then it's listing disinfect and all that, but it can't be $2,400 to disinfect. And band is down right now, correct? The count?
Yes, the numbers are down. Yep.
Yet we're going up $1,400 for repairs.
So what I can do, Brian, is take a look at last year's, what we actually expended
Okay.
on, specifically on those, and I can get some information on that for Monday.
Yeah, I understand the importance of upkeep, but it just
Yes.
seems, all right.
Well,
Yeah, if you can
and-
get back to me, it'd be great.
Yeah, sure, yep, yep.
Okay. Anything else on 8?
Yep. 610 supplies.
Mm-hmm.
For PPE supplies. I guess I have a couple of questions. Number one, our band's smaller right now
Yep.
than it was. And I'm trying to figure out, why is it only half of what LMS is? That's 2. And 3, do we still need PPE for band?
We still need PPE for band.
Why?
Absolutely. Well, because you're
Specialized
expending
PPE.
lots of air
Yeah.
through your instruments. And we don't have enough room to spread kids totally all across the school or go outside necessarily this time of the year. So it's just, the Music Educators Association
Do they
is
still-
really strongly.
Do they still?
Still, yeah, yeah.
Even though the people who are using it are fully vaccinated or have the ability to be fully vaccinated?
At the time we were developing this, I don't know how many of our students are actually fully vaccinated, okay?
No,
I
what I'm
don't-
saying is they have the ability to be fully vaccinated.
Correct.
And I'm just,
Yeah, yeah. I can talk with Brittany and find out, what this is rooted in.
yeah.
But you say
I
it's,
know they were following guidelines when it first came out as far as
Right.
the music
and they did revise those guidelines this past summer, okay?
yeah.
So to make sure teachers going into the fall. But it was still a high level of concern about how much air you expend as you blow through all the various wind instruments in particular.
Thank you. Anything else on page 8?
How many school-owned musical instruments do we own? I get the pianos needing to be tuned 3 times a year.
A lot of
Yep.
larger instruments are owned by the school.
Like
So
the tuba and stuff?
tubas,
Yep.
the euphoniums, a lot of the.
I was just curious, I didn't know.
If you're looking for actual types of instruments, I can ask Brittany. and-
No, I was just curious,
Bring
when
that
my
to you.
kids played, we just bought ours, but we wouldn't buy a tuba.
In middle
No
school,
way.
in middle school, we borrowed one of the school ones.
Yeah.
Oh, I
And
was
they're
just
not the
curious.
newest. I mean, it was great to have it, but I
Yeah.
can see
No,
why
I don't
there's
know anything
requirements.
about
Yeah,
it, that's why I was just
trombones.
curious.
Yeah,
At
saxophones.
my former
For
school,
school?
they fundraised to buy a tuba for the band. It was 8,000 plus.
Wow.
Yeah,
For a
yeah, they're
tuba.
not cheap.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions on 9? 10?
Yep.
Oh, I had a question too. Go ahead, Brad.
890 miscellaneous. Awards, plaques, flowers,
Oh, at the top?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I mean, we've gone from $300 actual, $577 actual, and then we jumped to 900.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Is this just for the few kids in band, or is this for LMS band too?
No, this is for
CHS
Campbell High
band.
School band.
And music
Yeah.
and chorus.
In music chorus, correct.
Do you have a rough estimate how many kids are part of that program?
50-ish. 50-ish.
Less than they've been in the past.
Right, and the other piece to that is, the money really wasn't expended, because, again, opportunities to perform were so significantly
Right.
decreased.
Mhm.
If you look back to 2019's actuals,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of
Yeah.
money.
Right.
Stands to
They
reason.
are starting back up with traveling to festivals and concerts and
Right.
honors bands, so those
sense.
kinds of awards, would come from that line.
And that's reflective later on in terms of co-curriculars.
Right.
We send students to the FBLA convention,
Mhm.
we send students to the student council leadership, so more and more of those opportunities are going to occur, so.
Are we
Yep.
going if not all the schools are wearing PE? That's a different question, sorry, I'll write that down.
Well, it's a quick answer. We conform to whatever the expectations are of the receiving school district. So if the kids are wearing masks, our kids wear masks. It's the same if they were to come here.
Wow.
Yep.
okay, account 630, supplies. I have a question regarding, there are 4 lines that are all Project Lead the Way. 2 of them.
Where are you, Tara?
Where's
What
six
page?
thirty?
Science.
610?
Sorry,
It's
610?
610.
610.
Page
Okay.
10
Okay.
for supplies.
Mhm.
So Project Lead the Way, there's a biomed, there's 2, I think, biomed Project Lead the Way.
Mhm.
One for 900 and one, I think is a typo, for 1,500. And I'm just wondering if they're the same, and then same question for, there's 2 lines that are Project Lead the Way, POE,
So, right.
different amounts.
Yep. So if you look down, there's 2 sections to that, which is the upper level in terms of just sort of the basic stuff that they need, and you go down below in the various lab kits and those other things that they need in addition to that. So we're offering, or the plan is to offer Project Lead the Way Principles of Biomed next year, as well as Project Lead the Way Principles of Engineering. Okay, so there's a basic sort of things that you might need for that program, and then here's the kits to follow along with the curriculum to make sure that you're able to provide all the various opportunities.
Ah,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
So this is extracurricular, not in school?
No, this is part of the classroom program.
Okay.
Yep, this is all part
Oh,
of the
we're back to
science
science,
supply
sorry.
budget.
So one is like
Perfect.
buying the program, you're
And-
buying like a fee to use the program, and then the
Yeah.
second cost is the,
Sure, and there are
Actual
basic
physical
materials for,
stuff.
for Principles of Biomed course, but then within that, there are various additional labs that you can or don't necessarily want to choose. If you want the kid to receive the college credit for those as well, you want to make sure you're doing both of those pieces.
oh, okay, alright.
Okay, page,
So I have a general question,
Yeah.
I think. So, again, this is my first budget process, so I'm still trying to understand this. But there isn't a breakout for the numbers that are underneath. So I'm looking at page 10, 610 supplies. So you can see what the FY19, 20, 21 costs are, but in terms of the breakout of the sub-items, there isn't a breakout. So when I'm looking at this extra $1,000 increase, how am I to know where that is, or is that just I'm supposed to guess which one went up, or?
So again, that's without seeing the sort of the specific expenditures in former years, really hard to tell you that.
Right.
One of the things I do know is the project Lead the Way increased about $2,500. However, we expended less than that. Actually, no, we have two other courses that aren't gonna run next year, which run alternating years,
Okay.
that don't have the same heavy expenditure toward the lab piece of it. And I think it's AP, oh boy, I'm just going off the top of my head. It's two of our AP courses that we aren't offering next year.
Yeah,
And so these are essentially more expensive than to run those two classes.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank
I
you.
know what you're saying, Heidi, that's like, that's a question I asked too. It sure would be nice, at least if I mean, if you put in all the prior expenditures and the line items that went with it, our budget would be 3 times as big as this, right? Because
Correct.
we'd have all of, I mean, there's changes year to year, but it sure would be nice to have prior year costs if these are repeating items, so then at
Right.
least we know which are the new items. And that's not a comment just to you, it's overall. you know?
It's really hard to, when you're purchasing things within the science department, to literally break down all of those various pieces to a specific freshman science curriculum, or to a specific biology, or to a specific. It doesn't always break out as easily as one would hope it would.
Well, just however you bucket it out, you know what I mean? Like freshman science, what was that? If that ran last year, well, I'm sure it did.
It did.
It did run,
Whoa.
right. Yep.
The new ones are probably the newest class, the biomedical class. We're doing a rotating,
Correct.
but
Yep,
I knew that because I was here last
Yeah.
year.
right. Yep.
any other questions or motions on page 10, 11? 12?
I had a question on, account 738, equipment replacement. Old tablets needing to be replaced, should that, or is that covered under IT, or is, I mean, I thought like technology would be covered under,
It's
Technology,
specific
right.
to Paula Barry's graphic arts classes. Okay, so Jason, I'm sure, Jason, are you here? A little bit of input, maybe you want to tell me a little bit
Yeah,
about
so,
this.
A lot of times tablets, you automatically go to like an iPad or an Android tablet. These are writing like drawing tablets
oh, okay.
for
Digital
graphic
art.
design.
Oh, I see, okay, got it.
Thanks, Jason, appreciate it, yeah. Yep.
Thank you, Jason. Anything else on 12? 13? 14? 15? 16?
Can I make one observation?
Sure.
I want to see, it's on 16. If you look at the top, the co-curricular activities, and you look at the portable PA system, that's actually in this year's budget. It was an oversight that's in there,
Oh, it should be taken out?
so that $1,000 should be taken out
Okay.
for the co-curricular, I believe it's co-curricular supplies,
Okay.
the 610 line. Yep, so that last 3 lines there should be crossed out.
Okay.
Corey, are you know them?
So that line,
A
make a
motion.
Sure.
motion?
Yep.
Okay, I'll make a motion to reduce, under CHS co-curricular, line 610 supplies, reduce it by $1,000 to, $1,435.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Wait, how much you read?
I'm reducing it by 1,000.
So we already,
Cause it's already budgeted this year.
Right,
Correct.
on page 15.
it's at the top, the 610's on the page before.
Yeah,
I got it.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Abstain? 500. Thank you for catching that. 16?
Yeah, I had a question on the, athletics, 272, the conference increase for workshop. Can I have some more information on that?
Sure. You want to speak to that, Josh, or would you like me to?
Yeah, no, I can take that.
Okay.
Ideally, that is.
Josh, you need the mic. Yep.
Ideally, that's to go to the national conference. The school I was at prior to this, I was able to go to that, and we were able to collaborate from ADs in China, Australia, Florida, and take classes there was part of it. I do need you have to take a couple classes every single year to keep your certification up. So you would take those classes at that conference. Obviously, it's not happening this year, but the hopes would be to get back into that so I can continue collaborating with ADs around the world.
What do you talk about, rules and stuff? Ball sizes and all that other stuff? No, really.
How to handle-
I'm just curious.
Well, I mean, I could give you a list of all the courses I've taken, but a handful of them are on safety.
Yeah, like
Whether it's within the
concussion
sport,
protocol and
well,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
a
that's
lot of
so
concussion
important.
protocol stuff. A lot of safety in specific venues. If you're holding a state tournament game, how do you get people in if there's an emergency going on in that game? This happened at this school, and they were using these protocols, and this is how they're adjusting protocols to go forward to make sure safety is continued. So
That's
those are
important.
really the two big ones. And then you have countless vendors trying to sell you other things, so trying to bring down the price so we can go with this vendor instead of the vendor we're using right now. And obviously it's the biggest one, so you're gonna have the most opportunity to speak with other people about
You had
different
me at
issues.
concussions.
You what?
You had me at concussion.
Is the line increase in that, from this current year, due to an increase in the cost of the conference, or are there more conferences that you anticipate attending?
That was increased, it's been asked each year, and that was increased because it wasn't really in it prior to go to that conference. You could go to
Okay.
the state conference, but that was been asked to go into that. 'Cause
I
I don't
see,
think
okay.
Jared ever went to the national one.
But
Okay.
that increase of $1,500 that we're seeing also includes like athletic trainer services and the.
Oh, it's
okay.
all, okay, I
Yeah,
see
so
what you're
there's
saying. Yep.
multiple.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out too. I'm sure those will cost.
Oh,
a
no,
bit.
that's, sorry, no, I see that's
That's
the
right.
difference.
Oh, it doesn't?
So sorry.
Okay, so it's just the courses
Coaching
and clinic
courses.
workshops.
CPR courses, coaching courses.
Okay, I see, yeah,
That's gonna be a different one.
yeah, I see.
Okay. I guess what I'm seeing is that it was in the approved 2021 budget, and then it was approved again last year at 1,500, and now this year it's requested at 3,000. So is the increase over last year's ask because?
I'm sorry, the increase was to pay for the CPR courses for the coaches, and to allow some of the courses that some of the coaches are coming up to me, because now they have to take the CPR courses, they have to take the concussion courses are getting big, the heat
Okay.
index courses are getting big, and now they have to take COVID courses.
Okay,
So
so
those
these are.
added courses is why it's going up.
Okay, so these are courses for the coaches as
Yeah,
well?
yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Are they mandatory?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
Well, the COVID one isn't, and the heat illness, but I would like to make those mandatory, just for the safety aspects, especially the sports outside.
Mhm.
Right.
Thank you. Okay, anything else on 16?
Yeah, can we just get clarification on 890? How it went from 17,000 to 1,400? Was that a typo?
890 on that, this is on the page 16.
16.
Miscellaneous?
That was because of Challenge Day.
Oh,
Yep,
oh, challenge date. Oh,
Because we anticipate grant funding for that, right?
right, and we kept budgeting it, and we can do it this year. You know, we already set up the times. We don't need it for next year, and hopefully we won't need it again because we don't come out of grant funding.
Right, okay, thank you. Page 17?
Yeah, I had another question about, again, this is sort of the similar question of without having the breakdown, and not knowing where the $4,000 increase is coming from, is that just a general mileage? Is it what cost of officials, what does that a
What
part of?
went up? Yeah.
So if you look back to 2019, our actuals, they were $28,000. We haven't had 2 full athletic years since then, so we've kinda not too sure about this. And then Josh, maybe you wanna speak to.
So you're getting that, and every official price went up $2. So every single game we have, you're having 2 to 3 officials. That goes up $2.
More expensive, okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
thanks.
Anything else on 17? 18? I actually have, I guess, a question on 18. I know we don't have actuals yet for 2022. Was the season greatly affected in 21 as far as supplies for the teams?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have obviously as many games, so really we didn't need some of the supplies. However, with the money that we had, we tried to buy up as many things as we could because we were so backlogged.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that wasn't purchased prior in the spring season.
Okay. So have you stock from that?
From purchasing the equipment?
For purchasing ahead, yeah, when you weren't using.
Yeah, we're just about caught up right now.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So I have a question, for lacrosse, I had emailed you like a year ago, cause I was buying, equipment for my kids who are in 8th grade, moving up to 9th grade, and, so there's no equipment, provided for lacrosse, and yet there's equipment provided for every other sport, and I don't even know if this is a question for you, or maybe it's the board, but why do we not provide equipment for lacrosse when we do for every other sport?
Because we
About
don't
the only
have
thing
our
they
own
probably have to
helmets.
buy is balls, and they do.
Say that again?
About the only thing they have to buy is balls, and they do.
Excuse me?
About the only thing you need for lacrosse that you normally would get is balls and a net, and they supply those.
You have a whole, there's
For the kids. they have
shoulder
helmets,
pads, there's a
I
helmet.
would hope
On
you
that.
have a reserve for kids that can't afford
Yeah,
the
yeah, we have
$300
a
helmet.
couple, like last year, in last year's budget, I bought 2 helmets and 2 chest protectors because now the state, well, national actually, is making the kids have brand new chest protectors to protect the heart. So it's a hard plastic piece that goes over the chest protector. And there's new helmets, and similar to football, you have to get the helmets. They're gonna start reconditioning the helmets. But the reason for that is just like shoulder pads, elbow pads, helmets, sticks, the kids are all buying that on their own. They're also buying their own soccer cleats. They're buying their own gymnastics, leotards, their own swimsuits. That's all purchased on their own because all the kids, they'll go play travel soccer, they'll play travel lacrosse, they'll do that. There is no travel football. There's no
Oh, I
such thing,
see.
so
Okay.
the school will provide that stuff.
Alright, I wasn't sure the rationale behind that.
Yeah, that's why, because they're playing, I mean, some of the kids are playing lacrosse year-round. Some of the kids are playing baseball
Okay, as
year-round.
long as
I'm
you have
not
a
gonna
stock
buy-
to help out those who
We can't buy
can't
baseball
afford
cleats
it.
for the kids. Yep.
Right, so does that logic hold true then, Josh, for like soccer? I mean, you've listed mouth guards, socks, those kinds of things. Are those,
Well, for the, yeah, I mean, the problem,
Are we on 19 now?
I'm sorry, 19?
Page 19.
the problem, yeah, the problem nowadays is the balls for all the sports is going through the roof.
Okay.
They're anywhere from $50 to $100 just for one ball, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that's a huge charge right there. And
Yeah.
then last year we had to buy brand new nets for the goals. We're trying to give the kids a little opportunity to play on the softball field over there, so that was another purchase. I know lacrosse nets had to be taken out because we had 1 lacrosse goal going into the season and we needed 4. So I had to take some of it out of the soccer segment and put it into lacrosse because we had no lacrosse goals.
Okay.
And then we had to buy nets with that too.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on page 19?
Yeah. The third item, music mix based on new rules of copyright. I'm only highlighting that one because I saw it somewhere else in gym class or something. So can't they just use the same copyright? I know it's in CHS twice.
This is all for cheer or
Yeah, that's all-
whatever,
that's all for
or
Spirit.
whatever
Yep.
it's called, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be for Spirit. I'd have to look at the PE one.
Okay.
I don't know if has to do with maybe a dance class that they were gonna do or something like that in class, but this is specific to their competition. They get a new one each year.
Okay.
To go to the competition, they bring someone in to actually do
So
that.
that's specific music for whatever. they
Exactly,
call it,
yeah,
right?
there's a remix and
So it's probably the
everything.
same thing. The other one was like to motivate them or something. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what it was. I read it somewhere. in
No, there's no motivation needed with this one.
Previously, cheer teams were just using
You're right.
whatever they found.
Yeah.
And they were violating every copyright
Yeah.
known.
No, it's
So
just like I
this-
said, it's somewhere
this-
else in here that I saw it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it
Yep.
was for a
Yeah.
PE
Yeah.
class, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on 19?
I just have a question for Josh. How many students do you think participate in extracurricular sporting events? What percentage of the school? Do you know, Mr. Lonigan,
I can give you exact numbers,
That'd be great.
right now?
yeah,
I'd be really impressed.
with our brand-new app that we're using.
Sweet.
We had 448 kids in the high school this
Yeah.
fall. We had 188 playing fall sports. So you're talking about 42% of the kids are playing fall sports. As of right now, right before this meeting I looked, we have 214 signed up for fall and winter sports. So that's 47.8% are signed up, and that's half of winter sports and no spring sports.
Because they're not signed up yet.
Yeah, exactly. We've sent it out once, and based off the numbers I've had the last 2 years and the kids that have signed up so far for winter sports, we have about 60% of the kids are signed up for winter sports so far. So, I mean, we're looking at about, going into the winter season, I'd say around 52% of the population plays a sport just in the fall and or winter, and that's not counting the 50 kids that are gonna sign up for outdoor track
Right.
and the 4 other sports we're gonna have. So, rough estimate, you're looking at about 55 to 60%
Wow,
of the population plays at least one sport.
great.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Page 20. Anything on page 21? 22? I actually had a question on 22.
Yeah.
This might be a Val question, but I was looking at the tuition for Londonderry Night School.
Yeah.
Is that increase due to students that we potentially will enroll, like actual students will potentially enroll, or the cost of tuition that's increased?
The number of students that we're gonna send, and we also didn't have the exact number for tuition,
Okay.
for Londonderry at that point. But we plan on, based on current population, kids with credits, that might
Okay.
have to be an option moving
How
forward.
much does that cost per student at Londonderry?
I
Is
bel-
it per class, or is it just being part of the program?
It's per class.
It's per class.
Mhm.
I don't know the number off the top of my head, but what we found last year, COVID world, is a lot of our students needed course
Credit
recoveries.
recovery.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and so we didn't budget appropriately for last year for
Mhm.
that.
We went over it
And
last year.
this year, our hope is, that, one, that we can decrease those numbers, so we don't have to cover
Mhm.
those costs, but you have to go eyes wide open
Mhm.
and think, okay, the trend has been, what's it gonna look like for our kids this year? Hopefully, with, 100% of our kids in school regularly, not having to worry about sort of the remote students versus the in-school and the combination. Hope is we do a better job in terms of making sure that we pull those students along who are struggling.
Yeah.
Last year was a challenge.
Yeah.
But that's why I was asking, is that identified students that, are likely to enroll in that program, or is
Yeah,
that?
it could be for credit recovery
Right.
or full-time adult education diploma.
All right,
Yeah.
it's an increase, but that makes sense.
Just keep in mind also the dropout rate at Campbell is remarkably low. If you look at that US News and World Report ranking, and you drill into the data on the site, you'll see that we're ranked in like the top 2% in the country in terms of that dropout rate. So, providing lots of pathways and lots of options for students is critical to achieving that. So,
Right.
we wouldn't want to do anything that would tie our hands
Exactly,
on getting
right.
everybody to their completion.
Thank you. Anything else on 22? 23? 24? 25? 26? 27.
I have something, account 534 postage and general expenses. Just comparing the postage machine lease to GMS and LMS, the CHS lease is twice as much. The other schools are $700 and $800, whereas the other expenditure under that is actually somewhat in line between the three schools of, you know, rounding to about 2,000. I was curious if there was a
Think,
better lease we could get on.
well, but I also think that because the SAO is in our building, you don't have a meter in your office, correct?
We do not.
Right, so that's, I'm not sure how that would break down between the SAU
Right.
and what they mail.
Well, this is
versus-
the lease of the machine itself.
Is it
Isn't that a
better
fixed
machine?
cost?
Yeah, is it a better machine at
Were they leased
CHS?
at different times?
Not the postage.
It's an older machine than the one that's down at GMS. We just had to replace that one, and renew the contract.
That's the
because
lowest cost one.
The one
At
you also
GMS.
you also probably send quite a bit out of here. I mean, do we send? I don't know.
No, it's
personally.
not the
That's the-
postage,
it's
it's the machine,
the
the lease of the machine.
It's
$1,600, lease postage machine.
I couldn't, I
I
have no
think
idea.
that's the
about
postage. I
that.
don't think that's the equipment cost.
It says
says
that
postage.
there's
I know,
$2,000
but-
for, you
And-
think they're reversed?
Stacy may have
I don't know.
Can
phrased
you look
that.
into that, Cory?
Yeah, just look into that.
We'll look into that and get back
yeah.
to you.
Thank you.
Well,
Yep.
I'm assuming it'll be higher here too.
Anything else on 27? 28? 29?
Yeah, on 29, down to the bottom, 610. And Jason, you could probably answer this. Is those the walkie-talkies we were talking about in the emergency meeting, about replacing? Were you at that meeting?
I remember the conversation, but I don't really know about the walkie-talkie.
We
I
have-
can't
we
really
have-
speak to walkie-talkies, that's usually the
We have not gotten to that point yet. We're gonna discuss that tomorrow at the emergency management meeting.
Okay, so do we know what these walkie-talkies are?
The ones that are in the building. Which page are we on?
610 on bottom.
Page 29.
Page what? There we go.
29.
Oh, 610.
610 CHS Emergency
Those
Management
are the current walkies. Those are the current walkies in-house
for 620.
for batteries.
So Brian, on
see
the
that.
agenda tomorrow is a possible upgrade, which would,
So, right, because I know we
Yeah.
talked about them, so I didn't know if this,
but
these
if
were
we
the same.
don't do the upgrade, we'll have to replace these.
Batteries, yeah. Okay. All right, anything else on 29? 30? 31? Oh, I had a question on 31. Are we still doing Project Safeguard at St. A's? This has transportation for not SAD students, SADD students, student reps, to be transported to Project Safeguard.
If they have it, we've done it in the past. We've
Right. I
brought
just-
students over there. Yep, but,
Okay.
I'm not even sure what the status is of it, but we don't wanna anticipate not doing it either.
Okay.
So I couldn't tell you.
Do we
Jen,
know?
do you plan on doing it?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm sure it's not a huge amount, but can we find out what that,
I will.
what that one item, the
Yep.
cost to that one item is? Thank you.
Yeah, it's the cost of a bus to go over and back and the wait time there, so it shouldn't be that difficult to calculate it. It's to St. A's, so I can
Right.
get that for you.
Right, but if we're not doing it, then,
Right, yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
absolutely, yep.
okay. 32? And that concludes the CHS budget. Unless there anything else? No. Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
good, thanks. All right.
Next up with a slightly shorter budget. And since she's going for the first time ever, hopefully a kinder reception, it will be Ms. Grantham. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
You've been here a month, we expect.
Been here for 35 whole days, and I want to begin by thanking Martha Thayer and maybe leaning on Martha for some of the responses to some of these questions, because she worked with Dr. Jetty and Mr. Isbicki as this was developed. So that is what is most important to address here, and I've been getting caught up to speed on all the things that we have going on at Litchfield Middle School. It's been an exciting 35 days, and the most exciting 35 days is that I can say that we are decreasing our overall budget this year by 1.32%, which I think is a good thing considering looking at our enrollments moving up for next year as projected with the increasing fourth grade coming up to fifth grade. We've been sensitive and thoughtful to the taxpayers in what we are doing. So we have removed some obsolete software subscriptions that were there. We did remove Project Safeguard from our budget, and we removed some expensive 3D printing supplies because we had quite a storage left over from COVID when kids were not using those. So it's not that we don't have 3D printers and aren't using them, it's just that we had leftover stock and supply there in the building that we are utilizing and don't need to order new ones. And our increases are increased supplies due to projected enrollment increases and cost of supplies. So look how long that budget presentation was, very exciting. So that is all I have to share with you. If you have any questions, please feel free.
All right.
And I'll do my best.
We'll dig right in then. Page 1. Page 2.
I just had a question about the LMS family and fax classes. Is that, added just increased cost of supplies, or, I mean, it's like doubling, sorry, let me just tell you, the section, I don't even see the section here.
So there are.
Oh, I'm looking at the total, yeah, the furniture, oh, yeah, that's right, okay.
Yep. So it is the five tables, are original to the classroom, so when you walk in and touch one of the tables, it does its own dance. It could go to the music class instead and do a little bit of dancing in there. But for right now, those are really requiring some replacement because of the condition that they're in for safety.
Yeah, there's very, throughout all 3 schools, there's very little, like, replacement of chairs and tables that I noticed, so I'm sure they're needed.
Jen, I actually highlighted that too. Are those specialized fax, specialized tables for fax?
They're unique in size due to the size of the room and the layout of the stoves and counter space in there. So they have to be a certain dimension in order to fit the student for the instruction portion of the class, in addition to being able to have that cooking space available to them.
Okay.
So they are unique in that you need to be able to fit the students you have in the class to sit at the tables. We have been looking through the storage units that we have in the back to see if there's anything that could possibly come out of there. And what we're finding is the shape and size of the ones that are currently in the storage unit don't meet the needs of the space that we have in the classroom.
Okay. Thank you for checking on that. All right, anything else on page 2? Page 3?
Again, 610 PPE supplies, and again, I suppose it's a question of Carolyn. I don't know if there are more kids down at LMS that are playing instruments than are up here.
So I believe we are working on increasing our band and chorus programs both. It is something that, with COVID, there was a decrease. They're starting to see a little bit of an upswing as we go on, and Martha, you want to speak to that as well?
Yes, we've also added grade 7 into band, into music. So they're looking at buying some other instruments so that they can expand on their playing. They're looking at ukuleles and guitars so that they can kind of move that program along.
That's great, but they're not wind instruments, so you don't need PPE for them.
No, but she is using full PPE. I talked to her about that just.
No, I know, but what my concern is one of 2 things. Either you're overspending at LMS or you're underspending at CHS. So if we can just, someone asked Carolyn the question, it's like, why such a variance in cost?
I can ask her that. I know that there's approximately 15, on the average about 15 kids in each of the bands, which is a little better than it had been, but I can certainly look into that. And I know that with beginner band, she tries to have some of the X's on here because she's not exactly sure how many will be trying that. And she expanded that beginner band to 6th grade this year too, because she felt that maybe she missed some last year.
I just don't know.
But we'll ask.
I don't know if the numbers are bigger down there or they're bigger up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
By how many?
That's all. I'm just, if we're gonna be using PPE, it's like, what's the right number?
You have a little over 50.
All right, anything else on 3? 4?
I just had a question / comment about Newsella. and if maybe, I don't, just question if Newsella Pro is the right subscription, only because I know a couple, in a couple classes, I felt like Newsella was overused. The kids were so sick of it. And so I know it has its place, and I know there's a benefit because it has different reading lexiles and all that.
Different subjects.
And
It
different
goes across the
subjects.
whole curriculum.
But I just want to make sure that we have enough, variety in online, programs available to the kids. That's my big concern. And I don't know, like I said, if I see it's Newsella Pro, if there's a standard version instead of a pro and that other.
So the pro is what does give you that access across the different subject areas, so that it makes it accessible not just in a reading class, but they could use it in a science class or a health class. So it does give the whole school access. There's also social and emotional components that tie into Newsella, which would allow that to be implemented with students. We did drop our Lexia from that category, which is how the price did go down overall from that, which was one of those obsolete software components that we had. And we feel like Newsella Pro is the right one for our students to be able to access reading at their level across
Changes the
different
lexile
classes.
according to their reading level.
Yes.
Same content, but,
Yeah.
yeah,
Did you say you dropped that though? Or-
Alexia.
No,
Oh,
not
Alexia.
Yep.
Which I don't know
Alexia,
what that
yep.
is. Okay.
We do have other online platforms, and the other one that teachers use that provides a tremendous resource as well is Discovery Ed. So they use that as well. But teachers do fall back onto Newsella because it's updated. It gives updates, 5 new articles every day that are current. So it provides very current information, and that's useful for our students.
So although it's located within the reading department budget, it's really used by
Everybody.
Every
It's
department.
across the board. The whole,
Okay.
all the
Right.
teachers have access to it.
Okay,
And they can take little quizzes at the ends that can be used as formatives too.
thank you. Any other questions on 4? 5?
I just am saying kudos to online registration for athletics for the middle school.
So much easier.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
6?
Better than 12 forms.
Yeah.
7? Oh, no, I'm gonna go back to 6. I just saw Project Safeguard listed under 610 supplies for guidance services.
It says 0.
Yeah. But is that included in the supplies for classroom-based, or?
Oh, materials for
The
Project Safeguard.
materials for Project Safeguard, the $200.
Yeah. Do you know, Martha?
The only thing I would say is that we are looking at that program. And we did bring a speaker in last year that we had speak to both the 7th and the 8th graders to try and catch that up. I don't know if that's actually what the supply was for, but I know that that's probably the piece that we're hanging on to right now, is we kind of relook at a way to deal with that and not have to go to the facility, St. Anselm's, that we were doing before. But there are sometimes supplies that we use, even when we had that one presenter, we did different things. We sent out different posters or different things that we needed to
Okay.
have some money for.
And there's already substantial decrease in that line anyway. Thank you. Anything else on 6? 7? 8? 9?
I just had a question about the emergency management response. Walkie-talkie batteries and miscellaneous supplies. $2,200.
Just to say that.
Same one
It's
that's
CHS.
DHS.
Walkie-talkies are expensive,
They are,
Wow.
really expensive.
and their batteries
And
are
we had
too.
to replace our bullhorn this year, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but it is, and we do use it, and we actually really do need it in an emergency situation, so we had 2 of them, they completely died, and
Oh,
nothing
okay.
we were gonna do with, but that was this year, but we have to periodically buy things
Yeah.
to replace for that, so. We had an emergency last year, And we saw some real needs, when we lost that electricity. So, we bought, there were certain flashlights that we want that will have a longer life, that will provide a stronger light, in certain areas of the building, so we're looking at those issues too.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on 9? 10?
No. All set?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Excellent, thank you, Jen. And now coming to the podium is our elementary school principal, Dan Mitchell. So he's doing his second budget with you. So you can be a little rougher on him.
Yeah. I will say, second budget, but the first time I could actually go through the process because I wasn't figuring out how to keep a school open with COVID. And I also had the benefit of actually being able to work with Mrs. Leary on the budget this year, who was indisposed last year, so we could actually go through the process appropriately. So as you look at it, really formally, based on decreases and increases, we looked at this budget basically 2 ways, and that was use-based and need-based. So everything that's in this budget addresses a need or has a defined use. And because of that, we were able to really kind of pinpoint what our spending really is. We also, I will say, had the advantage of a few lucky strikes, if you will. So for instance, you'll see some things that appear that are in the decrease that we got some savings. For instance, one of the programs that we all use, especially at the lower grades, it sounds silly, but it's called Go Noodle. And it's basically animated skits for the students to get up and actually move around. Well, right around August 20th, they sent us an email and just said, hey, good news, it's free. And so I immediately had Debbie reach out to them and say, forever or this year? And they said, forever. So we actually were able to take advantage of a couple, like I said, of lucky situations. In addition, we brought in a new music teacher, and so there are some decreases there because she's still getting her feet wet, and so she can't really tell. So there was a large item that the previous music teacher used. So, you know, looking in the future, some of those expenses may come back as she figures it out. But this year, we're looking, she's not going to use it, so we're not going to allocate for it. And then you also have, as was previously mentioned, we have a decrease in enrollment. And so a lot that you see in the GMS budget is enrollment driven. So when there's a decrease in enrollment, you're going to see decreases there. However, a little bit of an offset. Last year, the rate that we used stayed exactly the same from the year before. So this year, I just increased the rate. And this appears mostly in your 610, your supply lines. I increased that by a factor of 3%. And if you've been paying attention, transfer delivery and inflation is far greater than 3%. So we just put that into factor. But again, the decrease in enrollment assumes that. So you're still seeing decreases in that line. And so one final caveat, if you're looking at my budget, I wasn't that magical because there are 2 large items that appear in my budget, and this was just for accounting purposes. Corey and I figured it out. They had to do with, by adding a 5th kindergarten last year, there was expenses that went along with that. So those appear like expenses last year, so they really look like great reductions this year, which just makes me look a lot better than I actually am. So I'm being honest with you. There was also an improvement to the original portables. We replaced the carpet in the original portables because those had experienced 8 years of preschool, so it was about time to kind of refresh those. So all said and done, I am not actually down what appears to be 20% of what it looks like, but really more in the ballpark of a 10% reduction in the overall budget. So that's where we stand.
Great.
I'll take your questions.
Thank you. All right, anything on page 1?
I had 610 supplies. Is the number of students you're using 417 or 322? Because
so that's based on, look at when you look at the supply lines, kindergarten is separated out. So that's the grades 1 through 4 number for that one.
322 is 1 through 4.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
And if you're curious, that really large number, the 20,000 number, breaks down to 36 cents per student per day.
Wow. And then the 417, that's K, that's
Yeah,
pre-K
just,
through.
we still need to clean up a little bit. Sometimes you're gonna see, so we try to put it in the description. Sometimes that section is K to 4, sometimes it's 1 through 4. And then there are
Oh, I
certain
see.
things that we only do
Got
for
it.
certain grade levels, so.
I see, I see.
We tried to note it as much as we
I
can.
see.
Okay. Anything else on 1? 2? 3?
I got a question on 3.
Mhm.
I know it sounds pretty repetitive, but here we are at 610 supplies, recorders. If anyone's gonna blow into something and spit, it's those little kids. I
Yeah.
don't see any PPE in here, unless I'm missing it somewhere.
Yeah, so we're hoping, because again, going back to, this starts July of 22 and goes to 23, so we're hoping to restore. So we did not account for PPE for
Okay.
next year.
So your music, whoever you listen, doesn't recommend it? I don't know, who's the association that, I know Carolyn talked about it.
Yeah. I don't know if they speak specifically to recorders. But I can tell you the PPE on the recorders, you can assume it, because it's literally just like it's a little plastic bag on an elastic that you stick to the end of the recorder.
Brian, we'll double check too to make sure it's not the new music teacher missing it.
It's like I said,
No, it seems inconsistent.
Fourth graders, I mean, it's spit's
Yeah.
flying
Yeah.
everywhere.
And that's just at lunch.
Yeah,
No.
that might be something Courtney missed, because she's a new music teacher.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on 3? 4? 5? 6?
What are the FM systems used for again?
For kids that can't
I'm
hear.
sorry?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, FM
Okay.
systems are separate from the amplification
There's a
systems, but they're used
for
for
teachers.
students
Yeah.
hard of hearing.
Yep, okay.
We still have those surround things in the first grade, don't we? The speakers in the back of the room?
Yeah.
Yeah, the surround sound or whatever. it is.
Yeah, the phone X systems, in
Yeah,
fact,
that's
the largest increase that you'll see is the fixed price for adding another one into a classroom.
Okay, sorry, I'll
Yeah.
wait.
No, we already went by it.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
You missed it, Liz.
Yeah, it was fine.
It's no turning around.
I wasn't bringing it
I'm
up.
not
you
going
blew
back.
past it.
I'm not going back.
Page 7. 8. I had a question on 8 about the national conference.
Yep.
Has the cost of that gone up? Are there more people attending? There was a $1,000 increase over last year's budget.
Yeah, so I originally asked for that. It was removed throughout the process. I just always tie it to this 272, which is you allocate $500 for either Morai to go to a national conference, and so we just ask that you pay to actually send us to the national conference. So that's what that $1,000 is. That's the travel. The 580 connects back to the 272, which is the 500 registration for
see.
Lost Better National Conference.
And
And then
then
that would
it's
be
the
the
travel.
travel associated with that.
Gotcha.
And where is that conference, do you know?
Well, it could be one of many, because there's a number of organizations, and I would look at which organization, which conference best fit the needs and the vision of GMS, so that I or more could go to the one that gives us the best feedback and kind of bang for the buck, so we can bring it back and influence the school.
Do you know if they're holding it this year? Or FY22?
So I do know that ASCD is holding theirs in person. I don't know where. The National Association of Elementary School Principals is doing, their national conference remotely. And there's also in there, so there are the big conferences, which are usually in one of a handful of cities, because there's only so many convention centers in the country that can group size. But then they also have smaller, more targeted ones. And so it gives me the opportunity that if there was a smaller targeted one that really aligned with one of our initiatives or one of our visions, that one of us could go to that. So it may not be the large 30,000 people taking over 3 city blocks in Philadelphia with the 3 football field size expo center.
Okay. Great, thank you. And you
And
haven't.
if Spirit Airlines goes there, that's how we're going.
Yeah.
We're gonna use the
Right.
cheapest,
Good
most
luck.
economical
Yeah.
rate.
Oh, yeah, you'll be overnight delayed.
Okay, and you haven't been to one, I mean, they haven't been held the last several years, I
No,
assume.
I've been taking advantage of a number of remote options to connect up.
Great. All right, thank you.
They're coming back, though. I
I
mean,
know.
I've seen a bunch of them that are
Yeah.
in
Yeah, I
person
get
now,
emails
so
too
they are
now.
coming back.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, anything else on 8, 9, and 10? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job.
On
Thank
10,
you.
in case you're wondering, counting out those 2 large items, the actual number of decrease that was kind of controlled was 16,250.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Dan. So next up, we're going to invite Holly Falzone, our Director of Human Resources. And Holly's going to present 2 parts of the budget this evening. One will be her actual budget for the HR department. That's a quick and easy one-pager. And then we'll go into the deeper dive, which is the personnel budget. So Holly, when you're ready.
Those are the staples on through budget committee and the binders. You're gonna get updated salaries and benefits budget, when we get there, but good news, it's down. The HR budget, you will see $300 increase in professional services, for Benefit Strategies, our company that we pay, to do our administration for FSAs and dependent care. We've seen an increase in employees take advantage of that program with the yellow insurance plans. So we've increased that to 300. Same as what Dan said before, you see a 6,745 furniture decrease. That was money that was put in the budget last year, but taken out through the budget process for filing cabinets that was purchased with end-of-year funds. So really, it's a $300 increase in actual spending.
Thank you. Anything for Holly on page 1?
I just have a question about the referral bonuses that were implemented this year. Where are those? Where do those come out of the budget?
The referral bonuses would be in the salary and benefits budget.
It's paid as a salary.
Yeah, you're not
Okay.
gonna see, I did not enter them in for next year's budget. What we had done was, we had stopped those for, on August 31st, but I'm happy to talk about continuing them at any point you
Oh,
would
it was
like.
only over the summer, okay.
And the way we funded those were by savings, right? So we had so many, and we continue to have so many open positions.
Yeah.
That it was the savings of cost avoidance that
Yeah.
we used to get somebody on board and to fill those seats.
All right.
Anything else on page 1? Page 2?
That's it. I don't have a page 2.
I'm all confused.
I think it ends on, it might end on
It's page 1.
page.
Yeah, that's it.
The backside.
And what's this
The
that we
backside.
got?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm on
What
salaries.
is this?
Oh,
Sorry.
even better. That's
Corey.
salaries and benefits. You're getting a
Okay.
new one. So
I gave
Corey handed that out to you. It's a new
I can't find it.
40, about
I wanna have
42-ish
personnel.
pages.
Personnel
Salary.
and salary.
Oh, there,
Yeah.
okay, got it, all right.
So-
Okay, one.
We're making it confusing.
You
We'll get
should
there.
just take the October 29th copy
Yeah.
right out of your binder and pretend it doesn't exist,
Yeah, that's
unless you have
right.
notes on it.
But I
In which case, do a
highlighted.
parallel transfer of those, right?
Yeah.
Because the November 4th version is what's now.
Okay.
Okay,
Being
sorry
presented
about
to
that.
you.
There's no page 2. I was making
Okay.
that up. Thank you, Holly.
You're welcome.
All right.
Let me know when everybody's ready to start
Yeah, and
personnel.
then we'll move on to.
Or do you want to just give your overview?
Okay, I
Alright.
got lots of stuff to say about this one. All right, salaries and benefits budget. So you all should now have a new copy of the
Yeah.
salaries and benefits budget. We had some last minute changes. As we know, this is a forever changing budget right up until I get health insurance rates. which we won't have actuals for those till about November 15th. Hoping that we'll have a little bit more savings in here at that point in time. So our total salary and benefits budget is up $36,000, $36,693. As we go through this budget, some of the big things you're gonna see are, so salaries, you will not see salary increases for teachers or our support staff bargaining agreement. We are in negotiations right now with teachers, so once we get to an agreement with that, that will go towards a warrant article. The support staff, we have come to an agreement on that, so that will end up on a warrant article. So you will not see increases for them in here. Salary increases for our non-union members, that is SAU staff, administration, tutors, psychologists. We budget a lump sum in the 2,900 account, that's the last page of the budget. We base that off of 3%. We have two different buckets for that. One is for administration, and then one is for other employees, psychologists, tutors, etc. The superintendent will take those buckets of money and distribute them out among staff. On page 1 of the budget, you're gonna see things that we budget every year based off of CBA, off of our CBA. 6-period classes is $45,000. That's about how much we spent this year for that. That is for teachers who take on an additional class beyond what the contract allows for. They get 10% of their salary for that if it's a full year class, 5% if it's a half a year class. Teacher and para grade changes, budgeted $14,000 for that. That's the same as last year. What that means is during the year, if our teachers happen twice a year, paras, if they're getting their certification, we're giving them the raise right away where we're very short-staffed. So paras can get, their salary grid has 6 different lanes on it, whether they're certified or not certified through the Department of Ed, and based on degree. So if they get certified, they can get a raise during the year. Same thing with teachers. Teachers are all certified when they're hired, but their salary schedule is based on degree. So if throughout the year they're working towards their master's degree and they get that, then they get an increase for that. The big one this year is severance payouts. That is also on page 1, salaries. I have 11 total staff for severance payouts, 9 teachers, 1 other staff member, and 1 carryover from last year. What a carryover means is based off of our contracts and our non-union staff and our teachers, by November 1st, they have to let me know if they intend to retire at the end of the year. If they intend to retire, then we budget the severance so they get it paid out right at the end of the school year with the new budget. If they don't tell us in time for that November 1st deadline and say something happens, they leave at the end of the school year, they wait a year out for that severance payment. Benefits. Couple of things that are CBA contractual health reimbursement account. Again, that's a lot of the stuff is right on page 1. $5,000. That's based off our CBA where we pay teachers can put in for asking for money for their prescription reimbursement. Health insurance, we've put a GMR, guaranteed maximum rate, of 10%. That's a total of $205,284 increase. I'm hoping that comes in lower. What school care told me was that they're looking at an average of 6 to 8-ish%, and unfortunately they foresee our group on the higher end. So still that's less than 10, so I'm hoping that by November 15th I'll be able to give you some savings there as well. Dental insurance, those rates did come in. We have gone down 1.5%. Dental's cheap, so it's a tiny savings of $2,336. Good news, no change in New Hampshire retirement this upcoming budget cycle. They set their rates for 2 years, so we're good for the upcoming year at the current retirement rates that they have. Obviously, you could see increases in those lines based on salary increases, because it's percentage of people's salary. That goes for taxes as well, FICA, Medicare, et cetera. Those rates are based on an employee's salary. Big spot that we put some savings in this year is we have a reduction of 6 teaching positions in the budget. 2 at the elementary school in K-4, 2 at the middle school, 1 math and 1 language arts, and 2 positions at the high school. All of those you will see in the budget under the regular ed line at GMS and LMS. At CHS, because their budget is broken out by subject area, we put, you'll see the reduction right now through the budget process on page 1. We just put it under the district-wide account because we're not sure at this point in time where that reduction could take place. Attrition this year, we have not saved as much as we definitely have in the past, but we still did have some savings of $120,798. What you don't see added into this budget right now or at all at this point is some new positions. We are looking for 2 positions as far as in special services, 1 at the middle school and 1 at the high school. We've actually had 1 posted at the middle school we were going to use to pay through grant funds, but we haven't gotten anywhere with that at this point in time. We also had, through the new position process, administrators come forward with positions they're looking for, some co-curriculars. We are going to push that out to our co-curricular committee, every contract cycle. So hopefully upcoming in the fall with the new teacher contract, we'll have a co-curricular committee that will meet and review everything that's in there, and we felt that was the best place to bring those forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's get started. Any questions on page 1?
What is the percent that we pay for teacher retirement? What is that percent?
20.12.
So that's including, you said FICA and, is that?
No,
okay.
that's just on retirement. So someone's salary, you're paying 20.12% off of that for just retirement.
Off of, in addition to that?
Correct.
Wow, that's pretty sweet.
Anything else on page 1? Page 2? Page 3? Go back to my notes on the other section.
Right.
So I had a question on the tutor salaries on page 2. Those are in that 3% bucket?
They are,
Because they're
correct. And
non-union.
you see a decrease in that line because this current budget cycle, because we have that new position, or position at GMS, the SET teacher, we reduced a tutor and the part-time computer teacher to get the money for that position.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's why it's 1 less just
Part-time
tutor position than
Okay.
we had before.
Thank you. Anything else on 2? 3? 4? 5? 6? 7? 8? 9? 10? It's a good thing I'm a good counter. 11?
You're cheating, numbers are on the bottom.
It's that math tutor in me, right? 12? 13? 14? 15? 16? 17? 18? Does anyone have any questions on salaries and benefits?
We're just like
I
to
think
hear you
I like
counting.
counting out loud, but I think we can save some time here. Anyone?
No.
No?
If you do, you know where to.
I just have a question about
do.
co-curriculars and that process, and, you know, it seems like such a process to get a new co-curricular added, and I would love if there was a way, it doesn't encourage trial and error. Like, what if there's a club that just, you know, that particular group of people, you know, students that year want to form a new club? How do we do that?
They can, that's
you
what
want.
happens.
Within reason.
happens regularly,
So you don't have to already budget for that co-curricular?
Because in order for you to then turn it into a stipend position, it has to run at least 1 year, okay?
Oh,
As a volunteer
good.
program by a staff member working with students.
As a
And
volunteer.
That happens fairly regularly.
Okay.
Then, once we show that once we show that the students are interested, participating, and want to continue, then it becomes part of that process in terms of the stipend positions and the co-curriculars and how we're gonna, so I've proposed, you know,
Does it have to be a staff supervisor?
typically, that's what we have within the schools, and that's who the students will reach out to.
Yeah, sure.
You know, is a staff they really like, and they get excited about it. Yep.
But parents
All right,
said-
that's good to know. But
Susan
parents can do
Bailey
it
started
too.
the Lego program
Right.
at GMS.
Ah,
Yeah, parents are
okay.
invited to do that as well.
Yeah,
I
I'm
believe.
thinking pep band.
Oh my God, pep band.
There
With
is
the
a
30 kids?
There is pep band this year.
There is pep
There's-
band?
At the high school, there's jazz/pep band, yeah.
Oh,
They just don't come to the
it's
games?
how you have to take jazz though. All right.
Um,
And is that part of that's the curriculum though? That's not a co-curricular. Or
There's
is
no
that
reason
a?
they
No,
can't
it's-
go
it's
to
a
my school.
co-curricular?
it's
Oh, it
after
is.
school, yeah.
Ah. So how about that? All right.
Do we need to go through food service salaries and benefits, or are we all set on that? That was just listed as another item on the agenda.
It's a separate page in your handout.
Oh.
So actually, I just threw away mine somewhere,
Nah.
and I needed the last page because
So food service,
two pages,
salary
actually.
and benefits, there's
Yeah.
2 pages to that. It looks like there's a $35,573 increase. However, what I looked and dug into was at the beginning of the school year, this current year, FY22, we increased food service wages.
Right.
So it wouldn't have been in those lines, those specific lines for those employees in this
Okay.
current budget. Because really you won't see you don't see salary increases for them for FY23 because they're part
Okay.
of the support staff union.
All right, you were right, there were some pages missing.
There was some pages missing
Yeah,
in
there's
the new
2.
packet.
Sorry, I didn't give you those in the new packet.
That's
No,
all
that's
right.
all right. I figured it
I
out.
love
We
food
found
service,
them.
but I always.
You're gonna have to show me what you did.
All right.
yeah, it's in a separate part of
It's
the
a
budget, so
yeah.
it prints differently.
Yeah.
So at
The
this,
very back.
at this point, I'll open it up to the budget committee, or if any community members are in attendance for questions or input.
Here.
Thank you. Anybody? Oh, thanks, Russ.
It's like Phil Donahue.
Oh, I see. Phil Donahue.
Quick question on the salary and benefits. As far as the 6-period classes, is there any way that we can get a list of those classes that are 6-period classes and the student enrollment for those classes?
Yeah,
I can pull a list of those, yeah.
we have those all listed out.
Okay.
And I didn't match up to enrollment, but we can easily pull those numbers too.
Bob, would you mind holding that for me for a second? I can't flip pages.
The new positions that were listed right there, are they going to go to warrant article?
Let me go back up. So because we currently have special ed teachers, those are not new positions. They're within the existing budget, so.
Position.
Well, additional position. So in other words, it's based on student enrollment needs, so it would not be a warrant article. It would be something the board would decide whether to include in the budget. And that discussion started tonight.
We can pull it.
So we're not adding programming, we have special ed programming, It's just-
programs,
just
but are you
reacting
adding
to-
positions?
We're just
It would be
reacting
like-
to the number of special ed
It would be
students
like if we
and the
had
needs.
to add another third grade teacher because enrollment needed.
Is there a guideline that dictates how many kids are serviced by each teacher? Like,
Yes.
what
Yes.
exactly drove that decision? That would be helpful.
What I would suggest is on Monday, the special services director is gonna present her budget, and I guarantee it's gonna include details on this, so.
I won't be here Monday because I have a scheduling conflict, so expect the question to come up again.
It's okay. You can watch this on YouTube.
And then, Mr. Lonigan, on the CHS side of things, is there any way that you mentioned that the science classes kind of go in a rotation once every 2 years? Could I just get a list as far as what the planned offering is for 2023 as far as science classes? Thank you. And then it would have been a question for Val if somebody could pass that along. As far as the Londonderry side of things, maybe somebody here can answer it. If somebody goes to Londonderry for night school, is that in addition to classes that they're taking at Campbell, or is there also situations where they go ahead and all they do is Londonderry night school?
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes, okay.
It's a different diploma.
We have students who will take a course or 2 courses over at Londonderry, and they're on the traditional pathway here, and they're doing all the classes, and they're simply making up. We also have an occasional student who goes over and graduates through Londonderry Night School through their adult diploma. And the adult diploma only requires 20 credits. They double up credits in certain areas, and so it's not to the same rigor and standards you would have here.
Okay, so, and correct me if I'm wrong as far as my assumption, is there a way to be able to take a look and see how many students over the last year, for example, that you had that did it as a supplement and you were still teaching classes to them at Campbell High School, and which ones actually just went full adult, if I'm using the term correctly, where they're not actually attending classes at Campbell, they're only doing Londonderry?
There's relatively few students that do that. I attend their graduation. I usually hope 2 graduations, one in the winter, one in the spring. And it's probably maybe 4 to 6 students at most each year, but I can get those numbers.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, would you help me
Can
Any other questions from?
Actually, I did have.
Okay.
Coach Knight. On the LMS athletics side of things, you had mentioned that the CHS for the referees, there was a rate increase of $2 per event, but I'm noticing that the LMS budget for referees is flat. Is that because middle school referees don't get that uplift this year because of their certification?
I'd have to talk to Dan.
Okay.
At the middle school. I don't, because what I get from the NHIAA, and they have a completely different company overseeing.
Yeah, LMS is part of the Tri-County Conference. They're not part of the NHIAA.
Okay, so it's an NHIAA forced
Yeah.
$2 uplift
Yeah.
per referee per event?
Yeah.
Okay.
Signers are doing it. I don't know what they're doing with the Tri-County.
Okay. And, sorry, Bob, use that one more time. No, not, maybe not. Oh, tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right. Anything from?
No, that really concludes where we are, and we had a late start and we ended about the same in lateness, so I apologize for that, but thank you to the board for,
3
obviously you've
nights
done a deep
being
dive
together.
into the budget, and thank you to the budget committee members for coming out tonight. I continue to be hopeful that this is a streamlined process, giving budget committee members the budget in advance and on paper, which was a miss last year, but we fixed that this year. Just so that we can really streamline our presentation process and work together to get to the budget that goes in front of the voters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. I don't have a non-public listed.
We might need to do a non-public actually, because we had an email today that we need to discuss.
We need to discuss.
Yep.
All right, so with that, I will make a motion to go into non-public according to RSA 91 dash, I don't have it in front of me. 91A dash 3 colon 8 A through C,
Disposal
pre-11,
and-
all in A
yeah,
through
I
C.
know.
Wait, you gotta
Yes.
vote first. I know.
Liz,
Yes.
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
and Heidi? All
Can we
right.
recycle these or should
Ready?
No, they're gonna shred them.
We can go into ready.
Yeah.
Oh, good, we can give it back. I was like, I'm not gonna throw it in the regular trash.
He's gonna want us to.
Okay.
To the bottom.